All right, welcome. Today, we are going to chart a course through the huge world of nursing literature. Think of this as us building a roadmap together, one that's going to guide you straight to the most credible, most powerful sources for your research. So how does it happen? How do we find those answers? Well, it all starts with one of the most critical journeys in evidence-based practice, the literature review. And let's be clear, this isn't just about finding a bunch of papers. This is about building a rock-solid foundation for better patient outcomes. Okay, so let's get right into it. Before we even touch on the what and the where of finding sources, we really need to get a handle on why this whole quest for knowledge is so absolutely fundamental to nursing. You know, a literature review is so much more than just another assignment. It is the bedrock, the very foundation of safe, effective, and innovative nursing. This process uncovers new interventions, it gives us the hard evidence we need to change outdated practices, and it helps develop the protocols and policies that guide patient care every single day. Okay, so let's start mapping out this terrain of information. And this part's really important because you have to understand that when it comes to research, not all sources are created equal, not by a long shot. Understanding this hierarchy, knowing the difference between direct, unfiltered evidence and somebody else's summary of that evidence, that is the first and most important step to building a strong, believable argument. Let's start at the top with primary sources. The best way to think about a primary source is like hearing directly from the explorer who just got back from a new land. It's the original data, the first-hand report, the raw discovery before anyone else has had a chance to interpret it. So what does that look like in practice? We're talking about the actual research articles that detail a study's methods and results, those super in-depth dissertations and conference papers. A truly credible literature review is pretty much built almost entirely on these primary sources. Now, if a primary source is the explorer's diary, a secondary source is like reading a historian's book about that explorer's journey. They analyze, they interpret, and they pull together the original findings. They're incredibly useful for getting context, but you gotta remember, they are one step removed from the original work. So here's the crucial point, the main distinction. A primary source gives you direct evidence from the person who actually did the work. A secondary source, like a systematic review that you see here, synthesizes and discusses that evidence. Both are super valuable, but for totally different reasons. And finally, we get to tertiary sources. Think encyclopedias, handbooks, dictionaries. These give you a fantastic bird's-eye view of a topic, and they're great for getting some background knowledge. But they are absolutely the weakest form of evidence to support a specific research argument. All right, so now we know the types of sources out there. Let's talk about the two main paths you'll use to actually get your hands on them. Now, while traditional print sources like physical journals and books are still totally important, electronic sources, and especially online databases, have just completely changed the game. They are fast, they're efficient, and they are incredibly powerful. So let's dive into what are probably the most powerful tools in your entire research toolkit: digital databases. I want you to think of these as your personal superhighways to finding high-quality nursing literature. First up has to be CINAHL. That's the Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature. Honestly, this is the premier database specifically for nursing. If you're a nursing student or a researcher, this is your home base. It's your first stop, for sure. Next up is MEDLINE, which you're probably going to access through the free PubMed interface. It's managed by the U.S. National Library of Medicine, and it is just an enormous, comprehensive source for pretty much all biomedical and life sciences literature. Now, what's really cool about this next one is its razor-sharp focus. The Cochrane Library is famous for being a top source for high-quality systematic reviews. When you need the absolute highest level of evidence on whether an intervention actually works, this is where you go. It's the gold standard. And hey, your search doesn't have to stop there. Depending on what your topic is, you might need to branch out a little. PsycINFO is essential for mental health topics. ERIC is great for education, and others like Embase, Scopus, and Web of Science give you these really broad, multidisciplinary perspectives. So you found the databases. That's great. But just having access to the highway isn't enough, right? You need to know how to drive. So let's talk about navigating them effectively to find exactly what you're looking for. Okay, these techniques you see right here, they're total game changers. Using what are called Boolean operators like and, or not, helps you focus your search. So, for example, searching for diabetes and exercise will only show you results that have both terms. Using official keywords like mesh terms in PubMed, make sure you're speaking the database's language. And truncation, that's a neat trick. It helps you catch all variations of a word. Searching for nurse with an asterisk will find nurse, nurses, and nursing. See? This is how you go from just being a casual browser to a precision researcher. And this brings us to the final and maybe the most important step in our whole journey. Finding a source is half the battle. The other half is critically evaluating it to make sure it's credible, relevant, and trustworthy. This slide just illustrates it perfectly. You need to ask 5 key questions about any source you find. First, relevance. Does this thing actually address your question? Next, currency. Is it recent enough to still be useful today? Then, accuracy. Can you verify the facts? Are they supported by references? Then you look at the author. Are they a credible expert in this field? And finally, you have to understand its purpose. Is this meant to inform you, persuade you, or maybe even sell you something? So there you have it. You now have the map, you have the tools, and you have the critical skills to navigate the entire world of nursing literature. The next big discovery, the next innovation in patient care, it's out there, and it's just waiting for you to find it.